I believe that you run from love. I believe that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is quite possibly the same personality type as Nick Cannon and Cam Newton. I believe that all three of you are serial monogamous with narcissistic tendencies.
Hey guys, so look, there are no elevators to success. Success looks like this. You walk up the stairs, you walk up the mountain, you continue to walk up the mountain, everything falls, you start all over again.
There are no shortcuts to success. Yet somehow, Cheyenne Bryant managed to become a doctor without having the degrees to back it up. And now DL Hughley is going all in, accusing her of misleading innocent women. Back when Cheyenne was making waves online as an internet doctor, anyone who questioned her credentials was quickly brushed aside. Fast forward to today, and those degrees are nowhere to be found. She's now facing major scrutiny for allegedly giving questionable advice to thousands of Black women while profiting from it. As far as DL Hughley is concerned, the warning signs were there from the beginning. In his view, the only reason she got away with it for so long was because people bought into the story she was selling. WL.
I can't believe that people are asking to see everybody. When you go to a doctor's office or somebody, if they're working with your mind or your body, if they're a mechanic, they show you on the wall, they see you.
Yeah, you right.
You're not gonna walk in somebody and they want to divide, nigga. If you like, so I think, but I do think it's disingenuous to believe that they ask people, if you're dealing with somebody's mind, if you're dealing with somebody's physical well-being, you should be trained.
It's wild to think that Cheyenne Bryant may have pulled off one of the longest running grifts in the Black community while living in a way that seems completely opposite to the advice she gives. For a little background, Cheyenne appeared on the Joe Budden podcast a few weeks ago and discussed several topics, including her relationship status. But during the conversation, she unexpectedly dropped a few details about her professional background.
Therapist, I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 18 years ago. Before I obtained my doctorate degree in counseling psychology. Once I became a doctorate of psychology, I transitioned from a therapist to a psychology expert in private practice. And so I no longer practice under a license. I'm in private practice.
You're making all the money now.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what people don't understand, right? So just to educate some folks a little bit, a license is really only needed so you can bill insurance. And let me go a step further. Majority of people who know that in order to bill insurance as a therapist or a physician or a psychologist, psychiatrist, you have to diagnose.
Okay.
Most people don't want to have a diagnosis on their record. So what do they rather do?
Now that's what you call a major backtrack. Over the last couple of years, Cheyenne Bryant rose to prominence as an internet personality and self-described doctor of psychology. She frequently stated that she had 6 degrees, 3 doctorates, and a master's degree. Her reputation grew rapidly as she built a following around her role as a relatable street therapist. The attention became so significant that she even became president of an NADBO branch. Unfortunately for her, more and more people have started asking questions. If she has been operating as a therapist without a license, how can anyone be sure she was qualified to give advice in the first place? It also raises another question. Why suddenly admit all of this now? Did she know someone was about to expose her and decide to get ahead of the story? In an effort to address the growing skepticism, Cheyenne appeared on The Breakfast Club. There, she claimed she earned her doctorate from Argosy University, which later shut down after filing for bankruptcy. According to her, that closure made it impossible to access her certificate. She also said that requesting a refund would erase the credits she earned through the program.
I went to a school, Argosy University, completed an entire program. I went back online to get my official transcripts because I was applying to a law school many years ago to be a professor there. And I had to provide my transcripts, right, to get hired. And I went to contact the school and say, hey, I need my official transcripts. I need my entire thing. And there was no school. I was like, okay, I'm confused. I Google. It says this school has been shut down. I said, oh, well, they got to have records. I mean, they were accredited when I attended the school. They were accredited when I finished the program. I go and look, there is a third party that has the records. Why I contact the third party, that third party only holds records for 2 years.
Talk about convenient timing. The moment people began questioning Cheyenne Bryant's credentials, she revealed that her doctorate supposedly came from a university that no longer exists. From her perspective, it may have sounded like the perfect explanation because most people wouldn't have an easy way to verify it. But here's where things get interesting. Reports suggest that Argosy University's diplomas and transcripts can still be accessed through online records. And if not there, transcripts are reportedly available through the parchment system. Yet Cheyenne Bryant's doctorate still couldn't be located. And honestly, let's set the doctorate aside for a second. Everybody knows earning a doctorate is a huge achievement, especially within the Black community. Even Chris Brown proudly posed for photos after receiving an honorary degree. So where are Cheyenne's graduation pictures? If she skipped those, what about her dissertation? Why can't anyone find it? What about the professors who supposedly reviewed and approved it? Some supporters have argued that she doesn't necessarily need a doctorate to present herself as a psychology expert, even if her past claims were inaccurate. Their argument is that the community elevated her platform, so criticism now is unfair.
Why are you all so obsessed about Cheyenne Bryant? Like, okay, she lied. I can see if she lied and like harmed people. She was on my podcast and she was brilliant. We live in a world where we act like credentials is what determines somebody's effectiveness across the board. And in some respects, it is absolutely necessary. And in her respect, it actually wasn't necessary for her to do the work that she does. That being said, I just don't care. She was on my podcast and she was incredible. I don't care. There are also people who call themselves doctor when they get an honorary doctorate, and I don't think that's much different. Maya Angelou was walking around calling herself Dr. Maya Angelou.
Y'all made her. You made her. You made her who she is. All her millions of followers, her #1 book, selling book, her trips on her yacht and all of that. You all pay for that.
But DL Hughley isn't buying any of that. In his opinion, Cheyenne Bryant either has a serious issue with honesty or simply can't stop exaggerating because many of the claims she's made about her life have reportedly been challenged. Even recently, she continued doubling down during podcast appearances, talking about achievements she says she accomplished at a very young age. According to Cheyenne, she purchased her first home at 19, owned 3 retail stores on Melrose, and launched her own handbag company called Cheyenne Nicole Bags.
I was winning the bread. I was paying the majority of the bills, and I was in school with 26 units a semester. I was running an entire mobile legal company that I owned. So I was moving and shaking. And
at 21 years old, you were doing that?
At 21, I bought my first house at 19 years old.
What?
Bought my
in
first
LA?
house at 19 in the city of Long Beach, in North Long Beach.
Let's go.
I bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house and then built a whole loft in the backyard and rented the whole thing out and moved in with him closer to my retail store that I had. I had 3 retail stores on Melrose. You know Melrose?
Yes.
Yeah, 3 retail stores. I was actually, I have to brag about this, y'all. I was the first, because I loved it.
Yes.
I was the first and youngest Black woman to ever own a store on Melrose.
And naturally, people want proof. According to Cheyenne's story, she was managing businesses, paying bills, taking 26 credits in school, owning property, and serving as a landlord all at the same time. She says she accomplished all of this between the ages of 19 and 21. Anyone who's ever carried a heavy college course load or operated a business knows that's an enormous amount to juggle simultaneously. When internet investigators started digging deeper, they couldn't find evidence of a Cheyenne Nicole handbag brand. And remember, Melrose was one of the most recognizable shopping districts in Los Angeles, especially in the early 2000s. If she truly owned 3 stores there and was the youngest Black woman to do it, you'd expect a clear trail of evidence. Instead, nothing surfaced connecting her to Melrose in that way, not even as someone working inside those businesses. At this point, the only confirmed degree associated with Cheyenne appears to be an apparel and fashion degree from California State University Northridge, rather than the psychology and Pan-African studies degrees she has publicly referenced. So far, she has not produced a doctorate, transcripts, a dissertation, or documentation supporting the businesses she claims to have owned. Her response has essentially been that she doesn't owe anyone proof. And that's exactly where critics disagree. D.L. Hughley argues that Cheyenne effectively took over the street therapy lane while avoiding direct scrutiny from qualified Black therapists. He points out that she rarely appeared alongside other Black female therapists who could challenge her credentials or viewpoints. Instead, she often showed up on platforms where hosts weren't likely to push back. Whether it was Shannon Sharpe, Cam Newton, Joe Budden, or even The Breakfast Club, Cheyenne could confidently present broad advice and be viewed as an authority figure. And because she's attractive, charismatic, and speaks with confidence, many people were willing to accept her words at face value. Men were eager to listen, and plenty of women placed her on a pedestal. That's where critics say the real issue begins. Cheyenne regularly tells others to embrace their truth and take responsibility for their actions. She's speaking to people dealing with trauma, narcissism, mental health struggles, and deeply personal issues. But critics argue that if she has been misleading the public about her own background, how can people trust her guidance? What's becoming increasingly clear is that many believe she has been deceptive. Yet rather than stepping back and correcting the record, she's continuing to defend her claims. For someone who presents herself as a mental health authority, many see that as a troubling pattern. If you visit her website, you'll notice that most of her services are relatively affordable. Cheyenne herself has said she keeps prices low because she wants to help lower-income individuals who may not trust traditional institutions and need someone they feel comfortable talking to. But critics argue that this approach may actually be contributing to a much larger problem.
Okay.
Most people don't want to have a diagnosis on their record. So what do they rather do? Pay out of pocket.
That's what I
And
do.
so when I realized that, I thought, well, okay, it may create a gap within our community, our Black community, who can't afford health care or afford mental health services. But it also is a way that, you know, as a therapist, two things: you can obviously make what you deserve, because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there, and we're unpacking shit, and we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there, well, if you're an effective therapist, saying, tell me more.
To some observers, Cheyenne's entire operation feels more like a multi-level marketing setup than a legitimate mental health practice. And while some people dismiss mental health concerns altogether, the reality is that clients are spending real money seeking help. One person shared, "I wanted to explain my personal experience with Dr. Bryant. She presented herself as a woman and family therapist. At the time, my regular therapist wasn't available, and I specifically wanted to speak with another Black woman therapist. I also liked some of the advice she shared online. During our first session, I was never asked any intake questions, which immediately felt strange. I didn't fill out paperwork or sign forms. Honestly, it felt more like talking to a friend than speaking with a professional. The conversation focused heavily on her own relationships and experiences instead of learning about me. That's why I never booked another appointment. At the time, I was struggling with anxiety connected to PTSD and needed guidance. Instead, I left feeling worse because I wasn't in a place where hearing I wasn't a high-value woman was helpful. I needed coping tools and support." Another individual claimed, "I paid $300 for 1 hour, only to be told I was low vibrational. My anxiety and PTSD became so triggered that I had to wait until my licensed therapist had an opening."
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is committing wire fraud, in my opinion. Drop the doctor or provide proof, because what you're doing is wire fraud. And each instance is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison. And an instance is not your website. It's not the one website and that's one count. Each time a person hires you because you induced them to by calling yourself a doctor and a psychology expert when you are neither of those things, each time someone hired you is a count of wire fraud.
Right now, Cheyenne Bryant's response to the criticism is creating even more backlash. And many people believe Black women, especially those who supported her platform, should start demanding accountability. Ugh. I've watched Cheyenne Bryant's interview at least 5 times, and I have to be honest. A huge portion of what she's saying sounds like complete nonsense, and she frequently contradicts herself throughout the conversation. It comes across like one long word salad. And hold on, I just noticed something. She has a chain that literally says doc. Honestly, one of the quickest ways to make people question whether you're a doctor is wearing jewelry that announces you're a doctor. Apparently, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant seems far more willing to show off everything else than provide a dissertation or doctorate for public review. Imagine that. Some critics believe the thirst trap content serves as a distraction from the growing questions and accountability she's facing. So what do you think? Are people justified in being upset about Cheyenne Bryant's credentials, or were the warning signs there from the very beginning? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, baddies.